Hi friends, myself Dinesh Kumar, rank 6 in Civil Services Examination 2016. So I would like to share few points with you. Though I am not very sure what exactly I did, but these are few aspects which I pointed out which would have helped me in my preparation. So there are three important aspects in my preparation. The first thing is I used to plan every time I used to study. For example, if we take the case after prelims, I am very sure about clearing my prelims. So I had made a plan for the entire 4 months after prelims, including the test series, when I have to take the test, when I have to attend the class, and when I have to study what, including the sources. So what happens with this is you tend to know of your situation. No one needs to guide you, and this is very important because in this year-long preparation you tend to differ, and that is one thing that benefited me, and make plan which is more pragmatic and not idealistic. So what I used to do, I used to have buffer zones in my preparation, in my plan, so that I could cover if I could not feel like studying in some day or other. And the second problem I have often seen is people tend to get demotivated. I am very fortunate, I would say, that I do not have the problem of this demotivation, because when I started my preparation, I have not seen UPSC as an end. I mean, clearing UPSC examination as an end, but I have seen it as a process through which we can be a better human beings. Even if you do not clear, I am very sure that you will be among the top 1% of this country who are knowledgeable and can compete with the top creamy layer of this country, and that is what we want. Clearing UPSC ultimately boils down to some amount of luck and hard work and many other factors that are not in your hand. So what I feel is believing in process is more important than aiming to clear the exam. If you believe in the process, you will enjoy the process. If you enjoy the process, then you won't demotivate at all. So that is one thing which also helped me. And the third thing is definitely my fast of reading the books. I want to share an example. When I started my preparation, I started with Vision Current Affairs June monthly magazine, and I still remember I took 4 days to complete that one magazine. But what happened with time is you will get to know what is important and what is not important. So you will start reading between the lines, and you have to realize when you are reading between the lines, and you need to increase that reading between the lines so that you can complete your magazine in a very limited time. When almost at the end of my mains preparation, like in November, so I used to complete Vision entire current affairs for 3 hours or 4 hours, in 3 hours or 4 hours. So what happens is, first of all, you can cover a lot of material, and you are reading right parts because you know what to skip and what not to skip. And trust me, this only comes with experience, and by writing test series, because you will get to know what are the questions being asked, and by following the newspapers, because they will highlight the issues that are in the news and which UPSC generally asks. So reading fast was one thing which one should inculcate to get an edge. And yes, I have pointed out this mistake. So before prelims, I have studied for my mains for around 5 to 6 months, and then I started my prelims preparation around January to February. So what I used to do when I am reading any textbook, I used to write whatever seems to be important to me. For example, if I take the case of, if I am reading a chapter on sovereignty, so generally if you see any textbook, there will be 5-6 definitions for sovereignty, and I used to feel that every definition is equally important, and I used to jot down 5-6 definitions for the same word sovereignty. So what you are doing, you are burdening yourself by writing 5 to 6 definitions, and you are wasting your time. So after my prelims, what I did, generally what happens is, whenever you start a chapter, for example, let's say you are studying on terrorism, and they give 3-4 types of terrorism, 3-4 definitions of terrorism. So you can study one definition, you skip the rest of the things, because ultimately you need to write only one definition in your exam, and if you master that one definition, then no need to go to the rest of the definitions. So by that way you can increase your speed. And I used to make notes. I used to make notes of whatever I read, like even if I read an article in a Hindu or in an Indian Express, I used to make a note for the issues generally, and that was before prelims. Before prelims I have made my notes entirely on Evernote online, but after prelims I have shifted to hard copies, because I know I need to write only 200 words. And I don't need more information than the 200 words. So what I used to do, suppose if you are reading any topic, I used to make note just for just that much content that was required for 200 words. So by this way you are able to answer the question with quality, and since your material would be very less, because you are making notes just for 200 words, it would be very easy for you to revise, and you will very quickly complete your syllabus. And that's what I mean reading between the lines and increasing the speed of your study. For example, actually if we go through this land reforms chapter in Bipin Chandra, so he gives many reforms. And for suppose, let's say, though they are not, let's say there are 15 land reforms that Indian government should take. You should ideally note down only 5 or 6 important land reforms, because rest of the things anyway you are not writing in exam. So there is no point in studying them. You can study, I am not saying that you should not study, but to hasten your preparation, I think you should follow, I have followed this process. I used to make handwritten notes after prelims, as I have said, because I thought it would be very easy for me to revise. But before prelims, I have made my notes entirely on Evernote. So collecting articles from various newspapers, I made notes. And after prelims, what I did, I made hard notes out of the soft copy that I made before prelims. So this has eased me in my revision. Yes, okay. And I just want to share a few aspects that where you can develop your prelims score, because I thought prelims was always my strong area, and I got very good score in prelims. So I thought this strategy might be useful to you, so I am sharing with you. What prelims was all about, solving many questions. If you solve 80 test series, not 80 if not 100 test series, then definitely you are through. And don't just solve the question, but also read the content that is given after your question paper. And moreover, what I used to do whenever I am studying any textbook, I used to make questions myself. While studying a question, I used to think, how can a question be framed from this para or from this line. So it will be very easy, and you will start realizing that the same questions are repeating in your preliminary examination. So that boosts your confidence, and if you have confidence, I think prelims would be very easy. And coming to prelims, because though there is fixed syllabus like for Indian polity studying Lakshmikant, but when it comes to current affairs, they even ask trivial points. So for prelims, broad coverage of the current affairs is required. But whereas in mains, when it comes to the current affairs, I don't think broad coverage is required. Rather, what is required is in-depth analysis of the issues that we have in current affairs. For example, if I take any monthly magazine of any institute, you would find many science and technology related innovations that are coming up. They might give a para, or they might give 2-3 paras. So this is not important from mains point of view. So what you can do, at max they can ask a question related to what kind of a technology it is, who developed it is. Just go through it and just skip that entire technology part, entire that paragraphs. So by this way, you are doing justice to your prelims preparation. At the same time, you are collecting few examples that would be useful in your mains examination. And especially for general studies, what in mains writing, I think we need to have clarity on the concepts. I believe in it more because personally I don't want to mug up the things, and even if I by heart the things, I forget very soon. No, I cannot even remember for a 2 or 3. So I used to study the concept on how it has evolved, or what is the history behind it, and what is the reason we have that. So then if we know the history, the background, and then the reason why we are having that, then I don't think you may forgot it. And even if you forgot the provisions, then you can at least relate it to history and write a very good answer in your mains. I would like to give an example. For example, you just give a thought over why Nagaland is not a part of 6th schedule. So then you don't need to remember what are the other states we have in 6th schedule. And similar is the case with why is there a difference between schedule 5 and schedule 6. If you study how these concepts have evolved, then I don't think you need to mug up what are the states involved in it in northeast, or for example in central India. And one more thing, it's very important, what I feel is very important to answer 20 questions in every GS paper. But at the same time, there might be few questions which you do not have any clue at all. For example, this time I do not have any clue about this McBride question and allelopathy question. And but at the same time you need to maximize your marks. So what I did, McBride commission was 20th question, so I bluffed there, because even if I make a bluff there, it would not affect my entire paper. But whereas the allelopathy question was 7th, so if you bluff there, it would affect your entire paper. So I did not even attempt allelopathy. So take calculated risk, but at the same time ensure that it won't backturn. And GS papers, for that matter, even my optional or essay, what I feel is presentation is very important, because even if it adds half mark to your question, that means you are getting 10 marks in a 1 GS paper, and if you add 4 GS papers, 2 optionals and 1 essay, it would come around 65 marks if you take 5 marks for an essay, and 65 marks means that you are either in the list or out of the list. So what I feel is presentation matters a lot. So do underline and do make it easy for the evaluator to correct your transcripts. Regarding GS4 ethics case studies, actually I don't know, I have got this advice from other person. So I implemented it and I found it very useful. So case studies, if you take any case study, it is inherently a conflict between two values. It's like a duty versus your personal family or something like that. So you just mention the values which are in the conflict in the first paragraph itself. Like I used to mention the above case represents the conflict between these values. So just by reading your first paragraph, the evaluator would come to know that you have understood the case study, and he would be much more interested in reading your case study. And apart from it, since I have my optional as political science and international relations, I have a lot of leverage of using many of the scholars that I have in my optional. But even if you don't have, it's not a big deal, because if you can watch the John Rawls videos, justice videos. Sorry, not John Rawls, it's Sandel justice videos, and they are very useful. They are very useful in the sense they will help you identify why a particular ideology or why a particular thinking was not ethically correct and what you can do to overcome this. So I think it will stimulate your ethical curiosity. And I would say that it was even helpful for political science optional, because since I don't have any background of political science, I don't used to get the link why one ideology has developed over another ideology. So then Sandel videos has actually helped me, justice videos, because an ideology usually develops usually develops as a counter to the previous ideology or as a step up to that ideology. So either you will find similarities or dissimilarities, and if you know how these ideologies have developed, then political science would be very easy. And if you have command over your ideologies, then you can write almost any answer in paper 1 part A, even if you don't know the question, because if you know the ideology, you can guess what that particular ideology, scholars belonging to the particular ideology would have opinion on particular issue. And so even if you don't know the answer, if you write the views of these 4 or 5 schools, then your answer looks awesome and you will get good marks. That's what I used to do if I don't know the question. But for that you need to have command over ideologies, and hence I strongly recommend for political science students to have command over ideologies, especially have a grip by using I studied political ideologies by Andrew Haywood, which was very good, I found. Regarding sources, I would say these are very common sources, but see, people generally study the same sources. We all study Vision Current Affairs, the GS Score Current Affairs, GS Score material, and then their test series, and we solve some other institutes test series. But what happens is how you are extracting the material from that test series or from that current affairs module you have, what matters a lot. So what I did, since I have very less time for preparing world history and especially the history part, I followed my coaching institute's class notes, and then I bought all the test series of all the coaching institutes in market, and I have made note out of those questions. I did not study, I have studied their questions, I have studied their answers, and I have made note out of it, so that if the same question repeats, I can use this. And even if the same questions do not usually repeat, but definitely it would center around these concepts. So in that way you can cut down your preparation if you don't have enough time. Okay. And regarding political science, I just want to say a few words about my optional. See, political science, what I feel is very subjective in nature. Yes, it's a very good optional because it covers a lot of your general studies. At the same time, it helps you in your international relations, which is also a part of GS2, and even in GS3 it helps in land reforms and WTO and even FCCC, these kind of issues which we study in political science. But if you see the political science paper, in part B we do have subjectivity, be it in paper 1 or paper 2. So what I did, I made a point that I will write 3 questions from my part A and part A in both the papers. So by this way, it was, you are actually reducing your risk factor. But to do this, you need to spend maximum amount of your time on part A, because you should be in such a position to write 3 questions from part A irrespective of what the questions are. And especially with this strategy, I focused more on theory, be it in paper 1 or be it paper 2, and I spent very less time on part B of both the papers comparatively. But also in paper 2, in part B I mean, part B I have choose those questions where I can answer objectively, but not, and where there is no scope for more subjectivity. For example, if we take this year's paper, for example in paper 1 part B, I have chosen one question which deals with land reforms, which deals with the question on governor, and which deals with the question on RTA. And since land reforms, we all know there are only 4 or 5 points and no one can write or explain more than that. So I thought it was a safe bet. So I wrote the, I have choose that question. And coming to the other 2 questions, RTA, we have, it can be subjective, because if you may support RTA, but the evaluator might be against it. So what I did, since RTA I know it's subjective, but I have taken the help of my ARC report, and only using that ARC report I have solved, I have answered that entire question. So I have removed this subjectivity factor in that question. And regarding the governor question, I do know that, you know, at the time of giving mains, Arunachal Pradesh governor issue and Uttarakhand issue was going on. So if I add current affairs related to this, I will get good marks. So I have chosen this question just because on these 3 factors. So what I am saying is, choose those questions which will reduce the risk factor in your optional. That's it guys. If you have any questions, you can ask me on the IAS Core website. So I wish you all the best. Thank you.